evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. My name is Denise Billington Just, and I want to welcome you guys to Elks Nature Center in Rasmussen Woods and the Betsy-Tacy Society 3rd Annual Homecoming. Thank you so much for being here today. A couple of just tidbit points. Restrooms are back that way. As you enter there, don't be afraid. The lights will be off, but they're motion detector lights, so they will turn on as you enter. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to put together a little presentation, a little reenactment for you all, and I'm serving as the narrator. So sit back, relax, enjoy this beautiful evening in the woods and your connection to this wonderful, wonderful mission. Maud Hart Lovelace used the name Little Syria in Betsy-Tacy books. The character of Mr. Meecham in the books was inspired by James Ray Tinkcomv. I want to read a passage from Betsy and Tacy Go Over the Big Hill to illustrate how true to life Maud was in her descriptions. Sure enough, they stood on part of a hill which was new to them. Climbing a little higher, they left the trees behind and they came out on a high rocky ridge. Below, spread out in sunlight, was a strange, wild, beautiful valley. In the center were one big brick house and a row of tiny houses. This looks like Little Syria, said Tim. It can't be, cried Betsy and Tacy together, for Little Syria was a place they went to with their fathers and mothers when out buggy riding on a summer evening. It was not a place one saw when one went walking. Yet this was certainly Little Syria. That big brick mansion is the Meecham mansion, Tip said. It certainly was. Mr. Meecham had built it many years before, according to the story which Betsy, Tacy, and Tib had often heard their fathers tell. He had come from the east and had brought all the land in this valley, calling it Meecham's Addition. He had tried to sell lots there, but none of his American neighbors had wished to live so far from the center of town. At last, he had sold his lots to a colony of Syrians, strange, dark people who spoke broken English and came to Hill Street, sometimes peddling garden stuff and laces and embroidered cloths. Angry and disappointed, Mr. Meecham lived in his mansion among the humble houses of the Syrians. Mr. Tinkcomv is here today to tell us a story. Mr. Tinkcomv.
I am James Ray Tinkcomv. I was born January 29th, 1820, at Mayville, New York. My father ran a hotel there for many years, and I attended the local academy for my education. At age 21, I decided to study medicine, and did so for 2 years. I never actively engaged in doctoring, but I did invent and manufacture several different types of medicine. In 1851, the year that our glorious clipper ship, the Flying Cloud, was built in New York City, I was 31 years old, and I married Laura Davis. We had only one child, a daughter we named Mary Lillian. I came to this area for the first time on November 10th, 1856, when Mankato was only 3 years old. I was 36 years old. The town was pretty much centered along the river area, and I bought some property here. I then returned to Mayville to arrange my affairs so I could move my family here permanently. We arrived with all our belongings early in 1857. Over the next several years, I was involved in several different business ventures, including a general merchandise store and 2 drugstores. In 1873, I purchased a large tract of land in the valley on the south side of Mankato and laid out Tinkcomv's addition to Mankato. This was all heavily wooded, and the higher areas overlooked a very large slough. This contained 240 platted residential lots. I named the addition's main street James Avenue, and another street I named for my daughter Lily. From this time on, I devoted my time to my real estate interests. I built my house on the hillside on the corner of James and Fairfield Avenues. Joseph Ibach built an elegant home on the hillside on Fairfield Avenue and operated a brewery there. I built several small houses along Unfortunately, I wasn't able to sell the rest of the lots because the people didn't want to live so far from the center of town in those days. Disgusted with the fact that I couldn't sell the rest of the lots, I built an 8-foot-high wrought iron fence around my house. Finally, in the 1890s, I sold several lots to Syrian immigrants, and soon other Syrians settled in the little valley that local residents began to call Tinkcomville. One family opened a general store selling groceries, shoes, and dry goods, and later expanded it into a thriving farm seed business. Many of these families cultivated large tracts of bountiful gardens. They also raised chickens, cows, and pigs. In 1900, my wife and I divorced. She was never happy in Minnesota and wanted to go back east. Our daughter Lily was educated in the east, and when she returned to Mankato, she married Olaf Lundberg. We have a daughter, Stella. They have a daughter, Stella, who's my beautiful granddaughter. Over the years, I've accumulated a large amount of property that has enabled me to live a comfortable, retired life. I have performed many good deeds and charitable acts, assisting some of my less fortunate neighbors in town. I was one of the organizers of the Episcopal Church and served one term as city treasurer. One of my very good friends in the neighborhood is Thomas Hart. I own a fine open carriage pulled by 2 fine horses, and I have a coachman. I like to take Lily and Stella for carriage rides when they are all dressed up. Tom Hart's little girl, Maud, loves to see them in their beautiful dresses, wearing hats with plumes on them. Ah, those were the days.
James Tinkcom died at his home at the ripe old age of 88 years in 1908, after living most of the first 50 years of Mankato's history. Thomas Hart served as a pallbearer at his funeral. Nearly 1 year later, on September 8, 1909, his daughter Lily died at the age of 53. They are buried in Glenwood Cemetery in Mankato. You will hear old-timers in Mankato refer to this area as Tinkcomville, so memories still remain. Next, we'll hear from Anna Abdo, who lives in Tinkcomville.
Hello. My name is Anna. My husband, the first one, John Sabo, died young, leaving me with 2 little girls and a boy. We lived just over here on James Avenue in Tinkcomville, and I had to work as a peddler to support my family. And I did what I knew how to do and grew vegetables and peddled my very fresh vegetables to support them. I grew them in my garden myself, and they are some of the best in town, I will say. There were many of us Lebanese and Syrian immigrants that came to Mankato in the 1890s. Mr. Tinkcom offered us affordable lots to build our modest homes. And because so many of us settled here, just like at home, people began to call it Tinkcomville or Little Syria. Later, I married Knife Abdo, who was a widower with 10 children. There were a lot of us in the house. He came to America in 1892, and he really didn't have much at all. But he was a hard worker. That's one thing I really like about him. He started working by sweeping out an old pool hall so that he could earn money to live on, and not only did he do that, but he was frugal enough and saved up so that he bought a horse and buggy to peddle goods, which was very fortunate for my vegetables because there was room to put them all there and get them to places where they needed to be. And he earned enough to save up money to build our house on James Avenue, and now we have a grocery store. We have our own son, Nafe, and I, named Joe, so between me and Nafe and the 2 of us, there were 14 children. I don't know how the vegetables survived sometimes with the money through the garden, but all of them are good children. They all attended the Catholic school, and most of them can speak Lebanese, German, and English. And they get very good grades. They're very bright. We have a very large garden with so many children, And we bought a bigger wagon with high sides so that Joe could go and keep out of trouble selling groceries. One day I kicked him out of the house and I said, you go and you sell those vegetables and don't come back until the wagon is empty. He likes to tell the story of how he pulled the wagon all over, up and down the Byron Street area, and he sold all of the onions and cabbages, carrots and radishes. I was very proud of him. He did a good job. We also raised, as was said, chickens and cows and pigs. We like the pigs, but they kind of smell. But I do remember 3 little girls who made friends with one of my girls when she was young. They said she was a princess. That was a long time ago. Well, if you'll excuse me, I have to go and pick some vegetables so that I can take them to market. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Maud Hart Lovelace wrote in a letter in 1973, in many ways, that the book, Emily of Deep Valley, told a true story. The story of Emily Webster is very much the story of Maud's friend, Marguerite Marsh. Like she did with the rest of her Betsy-Tacy books, Maud based the characters and places in Emily Deep Valley closely on the people and places she knew. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Marguerite.
Hello, my name is Marguerite Marsh. I live with my grandfather in a little white house on a hill on the west side of the slough. Our house has pretty gables trimmed with scrollwork, but it's getting older now and a bit weather-beaten. There's a faded white picket fence that surrounds grandfather's acre. Our yard slopes towards the slough, and much of the grass is filled with dandelions. I love the lilacs and snowball bushes that grow by grandfather's house. My bedroom overlooks the slough, and from my window I can see the humble rooftops of the Syrians in the little settlement known as Tinkcomville. I can watch the sun rise over the marsh and the pond. In the summer, it's green with hummocks of grasses, cattails, and rushes. In autumn, it's filled with beautiful russet colors. In winter, it glistens with snow, and by spring, it's carpeted with marigolds. It's always noisy with frogs and birds. Gulls, sandpipers, red-winged and yellow-headed blackbirds. Sometimes it sounds like a barnyard when a gathering of marsh hens cackle on the water. At night when I look out my window, I can see the lights of Mankato. They look just a little larger than fireflies. I came to live with my grandparents in 1901, after my mother passed away. Father was so lost without mother and needed help raising me. My grandparents were among the first settlers to come to Mankato in 1853. My grandfather is John Marsh. He opened a general store and was given the first mail contract to deliver mail between St. Paul and Mankato once a week. My grandmother was Sarah Hannah Marsh. She was the first school teacher in the new town of Mankato. Grandmother died in 1904, and father died shortly after. Because I was used to helping my grandmother keep the house and cook meals, grandfather and I took care of each other. I attended Pleasant Grove School. I remember old Captain Kaiser and General Baker coming to visit the school on Decoration Day and tell us about the Civil War and the Sioux Uprising. Schools and businesses closed for the afternoon, and the entire town joined in this patriotic holiday, celebrating with a parade and special ceremonies at the cemetery. Grandfather and I always took lilacs and snowballs from home to place on the graves of our family. I attended Mankato High School where I had many friends, but because we lived so far from school, I had to help keep house and care for my grandfather. I was not able to participate in many outside school activities. Maud Hart was a good friend of mine. I was vice president of the debate club and was one of 3 students chosen to represent the school in debate contests with other local schools. It was difficult seeing my friends leave home and go off to college, but I could not bring myself to leave my grandfather. I was all we had. I became involved with the Mankato High School Alumni Association and was active in the First Presbyterian Church. It was a sad day when grandfather died in 1915. I am now alone with no living relatives. but I will muster my wits and stand in my own defense.
And she did just that. In 1916, Marguerite enrolled at the University of Wisconsin and studied home economics. When war was declared in 1917, the YMCA immediately volunteered its support. Marguerite enlisted in the YMCA in November 1917 and served 16 months with the 82nd Division in France. She was one of 13,000 YMCA workers who served in France during World War I. In 1921, Marguerite enrolled in hospital training course at the Presbyterian Hospital in connection with Columbia University in New York. She married Myron Wilcox in New York in May 1923. Myron was most likely the inspiration for Maud's character, Jed Wakeman, in Emily of Deep Valley. The couple moved to Cedar Falls, Iowa, where Marguerite gave birth to a son, John Marsh Wilcox, on January 31st, 1925. Just 2 weeks later, Marguerite died in Iowa City, Iowa. She is buried near her grandparents in Glenwood Cemetery in Mankato, from her obituary in the Mankato Free Press. There are lives made stronger by adversity. For Marguerite Marsh, one after another, the home ties of her girlhood were broken by death. Through it all, she preserved her brave faith, the sweet poise of character that carried her through to a fine womanhood in a happy home of her own. Maud was invited to speak at the commencement ceremony for the Mankato High School class of 1953. In her speech, she remarked, "If Betsy-Tacy and Tib would really return, they would find the biggest change right here at the school. According to the storybook, 51 Park Lane was a slough where in the spring the boys caught frogs and fished, and where in the winter all skated and had their share of fun and snow sliding." In the late 1940s, the new Mankato High School was built on what was part of that slough. Today, this school is Mankato West High School. However, a part of the slough still remains south of the high school on Stoltzman Road and has been preserved by the city of Mankato as a nature area. Rasmussen Woods Park opened in the spring of 1987. The land originally was homesteaded by the Jacoby and Whiting families in the 1850s. The Whiting land was purchased in 1939 by Chesterfield Rasmussen and remained in the Rasmussen family until 1971, when it and the Jacoby brothers' property were sold to the city of Mankato. The 150 acre tract of land was developed into a nature education area and opened to the public in 1987. Trails were created and a pond was dug to enhance the waterfowl habitat. The Elks Nature Center building was constructed here in Rasmussen Woods in 1990. And that, my friends, is the end of that reenactment. So at this juncture, I've been asked to talk a little bit about Rasmussen Woods and about the Nature Center, and maybe share a slideshow with you that shows how the trails look at different times. Actually, it's in the spring season. And then after that, we'll talk about going out for a hike. If there's interest in time, I could take you out to a gazebo that overlooks the slough area and the wetland. It depends on your time and what's going on. And then they have prepared desserts for you as well. So I'm going to see if my technology is going to cooperate. And if the slideshow does not work, I'll just go outside and feel the breeze. How does that sound?